What's up, everybody? It's Tengu Man. I just got some new Seimitsu Alutimo buttons that I pre-ordered, and I wanted to do a quick kind of overview and mini review of them. So we're going to do this really fast, pretty informal, and I'm just going to talk about the anatomy of the button. We'll talk about some colors, and then do a quick sound check. So this is the button. Just do a quick kind of turnaround here. One of the first things I noticed was that the button is very short on the inside. I have some other ones to compare here. This is a Sanwa OBS-C. And you'll notice the Sanwa needs a lot more space under your casing. So already I could tell you this, this might be a big plus for you if you're working on a thin build or if the casing that you have just doesn't have a lot of space under there. Here's a Crown 202 to compare that to also. The Crown 202 needs significantly more space. So these things are they're very short stack buttons, if that makes a difference to you. Another big anatomical difference I want to show you is the size of the plunger, or the cap. I'm going to line up the bottom edge here, and you'll see that the Sanwa in my right hand has a little bit more real estate than the Seimitsu. And then to line the crown up to it, the crown has considerably more real estate to it. That's something I really like about the crown buttons, honestly. Not only do these have a nice thuddy sound that I like how much space there is on the top to hit. It's a very, it's a big fat flat button. And these, by comparison, actually have very little real estate. It's a pretty thin plunger on the top. Now, something that is kind of nice about that is that means the teeth are very close to the inside in here. Kind of like a Hayabusa button. I like that you can just reach in there and pinch this to take the cap off. And because of the design, it's kind of nice that even if you have this thing screwed in, you could reach up, inside your casing and just pinch the cap off if you needed to. So now taking the cap off, you'll see that there is a separate cap and plunger in here. Let me take that bit off too. And you'll see the inside is an awful lot like a Crown 202. Like I said, I've never used Seimitsu buttons before, so I'm just going to be comparing them to things that I've seen. Here's the cap and plunger as a separable piece. And one of the big reasons that the crown button is so much taller than this one is that the plunger piece on the crown here actually has more of a stem before it engages the switch. This switch actually sits pretty high up in the case here compared to other buttons that use MX switches. Quick note, this spacer in here is not a soft spacer for muting. This is really just a hard spacer to change the height of the button. If you put the cap and plunger back in here without that spacer in, then the button will depress below the ring, and that's not very comfortable. So I'm going to stick this back on here. This piece actually sits on here pretty firm. That's like a tight fit. It won't fall out of there on its own. That's actually why I grabbed the switch puller to get it out of there, because otherwise it's kind of hard to get out of there with your, like my fingers don't fit past there. So another quick note, when I was taking this apart a couple times to just kind of check it out and practice making this video, these parts were rubbing on each other a lot. They were squeaking a lot. They were making a lot of friction, and I thought I was going to mess up one of the buttons by forcing it apart, but that ended up not being a problem. Over time, it's loosened up a little bit because I've taken it apart a couple times, and now it just, it fits back in there just fine. Quick note, if you're going to pop the switches out to change the switches, there are these little brass cylinders in here. I highly recommend that you flip the button over onto a cloth or something like that before you hit the little plunger to pop the cap out, or the switch out, because those cylinders will go flying away, and they were really hard to find in the carpet. So fair warning. That's about all the... Yeah, you know what, that's about it for button anatomy. Let's talk about colors. I'm not trying to make this video very long. So, you guys probably know I really like Virtua Fighter, so when I'm ordering buttons, I usually try to be cute and color my buttons like the VF, GP, and K buttons. So that's going to be the focus of my color conversation here, honestly. Starting off with the greens, the Seimitsu is installed in this stick here. I've got a Crown green, this is a Crown 202 on my left hand, and this is a Sanwa in my right hand. So, it's kind of hard to tell with digital color, and also the light in here could be weird, but I really do think that the Seimitsu button is the palest. The Seimitsu one down here has the least green tint to it. The Sanwa, I think, is the nicest green. I don't really see a whole ton of difference between... Well, nah, you know what, if I look really closely, I think they're distinctly different greens. I do like the Sanwa green the most. That might just be my bias. Nothing wrong with the crown green really, but this one seems a little bit seasick if you're going for Virtua Fighter colors. On to the blues. I think the blues is really where you're going to see the biggest difference. This is a crown in my left hand again, Sanwa in my right hand, and we've got the Seimitsu installed in the stick. So again, I really like these crown buttons. These are very good buttons, these crown 202s. I like the real estate of the plunger, I like the sound, I like the thud, I like the feel of them. But because I like to be cute and color my buttons like Virtua Fighter buttons, I'm a little disappointed that Crown doesn't make a light blue button. This is the only blue that they make, and it's just a little too dark to match. This is the Sanwa blue. Okay, this is Sanwa light blue. Sanwa actually makes two different blues. So this is really the nicest color for the punch button if you're making like a Virtua Fighter themed stick, in my opinion. This is the light blue that comes in the Seimitsus. And I wanted to note here, I don't have a picture of it, but if you go look at their pre-order ad online, the pre-order ad showed a light blue button that was much more this Sanwa color than the button that actually came. So again, nitpicky, but I was a little disappointed that the colors were not what they actually weren't entirely what they showed them to be in the pre-order, since I did pre-order the buttons. On to the red ones. There's not a ton of difference in the reds here. Again, if I really look at it and think about it, I think that the Seimitsu red in the middle here is the palest red. It has the least tint to it. There's something kind of washed out about it. The Hori red and the crown red are totally fine. I don't really... There's a little bit of a difference. I think the Hori... I mean, not Hori. I keep saying Hori. It's Sanwa. The Sanwa red is a... I don't know. That's hard to say. Overall, like, this is still kind of my personal bias, but if you're really going for Virtua Fighter colors, I think the Sanwa buttons are kind of the closest that you're going to get. They're very nice GP and K colors. So that is the color conversation, and now really quick, let's do a sound check. So just some stick noise for reference. This Hori Alpha that I'm using does kind of have some innate kind of hollow thud to it. You can kind of hear in there. You can kind of hear it when I do the stick too. And let's see if that transfers over to the buttons. Anyway, all these buttons are Seimitsu Alutimos except for this one and this one. This is a Sanwa, this is a crown, but we'll get to that in a sec. So Seimitsu's first. Okay, here's some light touching. I'll hit him a little harder. And let's jam on it a little bit. Okay, so to compare now, I got a Seimitsu, Sanwa, and Crown. See, there's that kind of lower, kind of bassier thud that I like about the Crown button. It's not really as loud as the other two. These are classic. Sanwas are like very industry standard Japanese buttons. And these are they kind of have a bit of that arcade clack, that plastic kind of hollow clack, but I think the Seimitsus have more. These have a whole lot more of that kind of plastic on plastic clacking sound. So, Seimitsu, Sanwa, Crown. So, yeah, that's kind of all I can think of to show off the top of my head. I really hope that was helpful for anyone who was interested in these buttons or just wanted a quicker, kind of closer look at the product. Hit me up if you have any questions about them. I haven't installed them in my sticks yet, or in any of my sticks yet, so I'm kind of sitting on them. If you want more pictures or want to know anything about measurements or the pieces, let me know and I could help out. Later.